Thank you for taking my call. What is on your mind?
It's on healthcare,
Okay.
and I did read letters with Sabian congratulating you on opposing it when it was in the House. What I just can't get my arms around is why we need to make this large tax cut for wealthy people a part of the health care bill, especially since it seems to be a quid pro quo that we're going to take health care away from people in order to give these people a tax cut. And I just don't understand the rationale for that. And I'm hoping you can either help me understand it or let me know what you're going to do to try to make sure that doesn't happen.
Okay, let me make sure I'm hearing you right. Are you referencing how the health care bill is coming first and they're repealing a bunch of items, and then with the goal of then passing tax reform, and in that reducing rates and coming into, I mean, I've heard a lot of different proposals, but basically doing the health care bill in order to do tax reform? Is that, am I hearing you right? Is that the question? Or are you, there isn't a specific tax cut. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I guess what I've been hearing is that they won't do a health care bill unless there's this tax cut for wealthy people. And I don't see why that needs to be a part of health care reform. And
right.
Is it really the case that we're going to take health care away from people so that wealthy people can have a tax cut? And I guess if it is, then I don't know how anybody rationalizes that. So I guess that's what I'd like to talk about.
I would agree with you. So here's, I think maybe a couple wires might be being crossed. So there isn't a tax cut per se in the healthcare bill, unless you're referencing the attempt to repeal the individual mandate, which the president, the administration, it was ruled as a tax, but that affects everybody. So I'm thinking that's not what you're referencing. What I'm guessing it is there's been a lot of talk about how things need to be repealed in Obamacare in order for tax reform to move forward later. But the way they're talking about that, it would be two separate bills. But I think that's the letter of what we're talking about, so they're not the same. But I do think your point about if we're going to repeal things in healthcare and it's going to impact, if it impacts the most vulnerable, the elderly, the disabled, children, then that money should stay in the system for those people. It shouldn't then be used to pay for tax reform. And I agree with you. That's one of the problems I've had with how this whole process has gone. Now, I believe in access to health care. And I do support repealing the Affordable Care Act because I think we have to do it better. But that's how I view it. I think if we're going to repeal it, then we have to leave people better off, and that means that money has to stay in the healthcare system. It means we need to make sure that the safety nets are robust. That was one of the reasons I didn't support the bill that came out of the House. It's not because I don't want to do it better. I want to repeal this bill and replace it with something better, but I felt like the bill that was passed didn't do enough to lower costs for people, and I felt like it left people vulnerable, people who are in the safety net, disabled folks or children. And so that was why I voted against it, and I agree that you shouldn't take from the most vulnerable and redistribute to other folks. And I think we can do that. And I'm still engaging with my counterparts in the Senate to try and get them to put together something that is both going to lower costs for people, but also make sure we don't leave people behind, because that's, I just think that's what people expect out of their tax dollars. So your point is well taken, and I appreciate it, and I agree. We need to make sure that we are taking care of the most vulnerable and not leaving them behind in order to, enrich someone else. But I don't necessarily believe that is how this bill was written. I opposed it for other reasons. But I'll keep an eye out for those things as we move forward and this process moves forward. So thank you.
Okay. I appreciate hearing that from you, and thank you for taking time to listen to my question.
Thank you.